understand who Olivia Chow is, where she came from, what her core beliefs are in the NDP powers, and where the changes are. It's going to have big, big effects moving forward. So we have to pay attention to this. Canada has just elected its first Canadian Chinese mayor of a major city. Toronto is a very large city. Vancouver is the second large city. We just elected Olivia Chow. Now, a lot is going to change for your investment portfolios and for real estate. And we have to know what is going to change. There's monumental changes afoot. Let's take a look at some of them to see how it's going to affect you. All right, let's jump straight into the article of the day. We elected Olivia Chow. Now, regardless of your political opinion, this channel is not about political opinions. This is not what we're here for. We're here to understand what differences that it actually makes for your and my life. So this is Olivia Chow. This was her at the parade just a couple days ago. Now, why does that name sound so familiar to a lot of people around Canada specifically is because she used to be married to this guy named Jack Layton. Jack Layton was a famous politician many years ago, and he ran with the NDP party, so the National Democrat Party. Now, they have a ferry terminal in Toronto that is named after him because he lived in this area. So Jack Layton, it says here, was a leader of the New Democrat Party, and he gave a real serious run for massive national power. Now, of course, he didn't win, but they gained a lot of seats, much more than they ever had. So he was the most charismatic leader of the NDP party at the time. But it's very important that we understand what they actually represented, right? What they feel is the way to govern. So he was married to Olivia Chow. Look at this. They've already changed the Wikipedia page. So what do New Democrats actually believe? So the New Democrat Party is self-described as a social democratic party. What does that mean? It means it's left or more liberal, or what's even more past liberal? I don't know. I guess NDPs are even more liberal than the liberals. So where does that actually stand? I think that it's easier for people who don't live in Canada to understand where they are. So it says they support a mixed economy. What on earth does that mean? First of all, it means that they want more welfare. So more people to qualify for welfare with higher welfare payments. They want to champion LGBT rights, and they want international peace. I find that one very funny, my guys. We want to promote peace and environmental stewardship. They want Canada to have universal healthcare system, which includes dental care, mental, eye and hearing, infertility procedures, and prescription drugs. Now, this is directly off of their website, okay? We don't ever want to push down anybody because of the political beliefs. This specifically is straight from Wikipedia. I thought it would be safe. I know that this is very triggering to a lot of people, but this is the background that Olivia Chow is coming from, where they want more welfare and LGBT rights and environmental stewardship and universal healthcare. That's what they want. So Olivia Chow has a list of things that's going to be directly impacting Toronto. So we want to know specifically, right? What on earth is it? Like, what's actually going to be happening? So Chow has promised to build a dedicated busway to replace the decommissioned Scarborough RT to the tune of about 60 million. She said she'd be funding this from replacing the Gardiner Expressway with an at-grade Boulevard at Cherry Street. It's important that we understand where that is. This is downtown Toronto. If you can see it here, CN Tower is right here, and where they play the game. Gardiner is this elevated highway that runs down the middle of the city. If you take a look at Toronto as a whole, it's a massive city, and it only is bordered by 4 main highways. I'm talking 1 up, 1 down, and 2 across. It's kind of like a giant box where the city is in the middle. Now, if we want to zoom in to where she is proposing to save all this money, you could see that the East-West Gardiner Expressway branches off to the Don Valley Parkway going north. So it's this area right here. So Cherry Street sits right here, where they're going to be starting to do this massive development where the Google city of the future actually pulled out. So if we try to take a little bit of a street view and take a look at it, you guys might remember this, that there's an elevated area here where there's lanes above, and the lanes are branching off right here in this section to wrap around. You could see this section right here onto the DVP. So it's an elevated highway. So the purpose of having an elevated highway, the purpose of all of that is so that you can have 1, 2, 3 lanes here underneath, 3 lanes on this side. So now we're up to 6 lanes. And on top, you can have several lanes here, several lanes here, several lanes here. So the idea behind it is you can have a dozen lanes that are only taking up the space of maybe 6 lanes or 5 lanes. So her idea is to knock down all of these and not rebuild any of them, and then only leave these lanes underneath. So listen, again, this is not a political channel. This is not our purpose. But what you can know absolutely without fail is when you take a dozen lanes and squash them down to 5, traffic will go up. Toronto has only had increased traffic, increased traffic, increased traffic over time. You might need another layer, like 2 suspended roads to deal with the traffic that we have right now. Already in the city, you are absolutely paralyzed. If you leave between 3 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., it's a parking lot. This is the craziness that's happening in Toronto. So in order to make that dedicated bus line, 60 million, of which is probably going to take a decade and cost a lot more. But over that, that's, I digress. Removing lanes of traffic only will increase traffic, right? It's like physics, right? We don't want to be political. I'm just saying this is what's going to happen. Absolutely. You remove all of these elevated lanes and squash them down to all what's down here, there will be more trouble. Okay, so that is her first thing. But let's speak for both sides, okay? The Scarborough train, there used to be a train that came down this way into the city that they removed, but that should increase for over here, but it's going to create a big problem for Toronto. Okay, so another thing that she's going to be doing, housing. This is the thing that everybody and their dog is talking about. Now, I have to tell you that number one, just talking about traffic in itself will really, really, really hurt a lot of investment. So did you notice that where I said all of this traffic is going to be bunching up? Right here from where they're going to knock it down and build this area. But what you don't see, okay, what you don't see is this entire development here is supposed to have 50,000 people that are going to be built in there. Look at the density that is up in this area of towers and imagine that they want to build 50,000 people in this area right now, okay? Now, also the soap factory that used to be here, this entire region here is all going to be another massive project, another 50,000 people. So if you're going to add 100,000 people to this area that used to be all industrial, and now you want them to all come into this zone right here where there is very, very minimal possibility of traffic, it could cause a lot of problems. Anyway, just saying, no matter how you slice it, there's going to be some issues. Okay, let's move on. Housing. This is how it's going to affect housing. Now, they want to increase Toronto's vacant home tax from 1% to 3%. Now, in theory, raising the vacant home tax is a good thing. The number one reason why you want to invest in real estate is rule of law. Rule of law is the only rule that you should be following. That's the number one thing if you're looking at where to follow. I even have family members that are talking to me about why should I invest here when I can invest in Nicaragua, Costa Rica, if I can go down to Colombia. Rule of law is very important, and you need to have that property rights. So that's why a lot of people come here and buy houses and then leave. So a lot of people can come to Canada. Immigration is very loose here. You can move to Canada, buy all your property, dump your cash here, buy a home, keep it vacant, and head back to your country. It's a good, safe place to put it. In their own countries, many times, it could be crime dealers or governments or whatever that go in and seize the properties. In this case, you can do the opposite. You could dump your money here, it's safe, go back and continue working. And so they want to discourage that, and they have taxes, making sure that they're utilizing homes. Now, in Toronto, we have an epidemic of that because we have 250,000 homes that are sitting empty, and the estimates on that is very, very hard to determine. So the way that they want to tax that, instead of having a 1% tax, they want to increase it to a 3% tax. Now, this sounds good because they are going to be using all of that money for low income homes geared to rent or something like that, right? Affordable housing initiatives. Here is the problem. If you go and look at the Toronto vacant home tax, it actually is a good idea. The goal of the city of Toronto's vacant home tax is to increase the supply of housing by discouraging owners from leaving their residential properties unoccupied. Homeowners who choose to keep their properties vacant will be subject to this tax. Here comes the problem: how it works. Please note, all residential property owners in Toronto are required to declare the occupancy status of their property annually, even if they live there. Declarations must be made by the homeowner or somebody on their behalf. The declaration determines whether the vacant tax home applies and is payable. I don't know. Did you catch that? So they're going to mail something to your house, and depending what box you tick, then that is what's going to determine whether or not you pay. It's an honesty practice. So in Toronto, where we're sitting here, where we could have 250,000, 300,000 units that are empty. These letters go out and are mailed to these empty properties. The number could be much higher. It's hard to know. But we go into a lot of buildings where half the building is just sitting empty. So you have to understand, how this goes. And so Toronto, how many properties? Just 2,100 properties reported empty. You can't make this stuff up, man. So this is the fun thing behind it. We're not a political channel. We don't ever want to be, right? But there's a difference between yelling something from the mountaintops and actually seeing it how it works. So when property prices go loud, we get on the news, and this doesn't matter the party. This doesn't matter the mayor before, the government before. This is just how the world works. Number one, they're going to say, don't worry, we got this under control, vacant home tax, to which the crowds come out of their homes and cheer. Rah! All excited about this. But then what happens is they go, wait a second, how does this work? Okay, how about we just do it on an honesty thing? Because most people are honest, right? So you just have to imagine we got hundreds of thousands of people in China, hundreds of thousands of people in India, 100,000 people in Saudi Arabia, and they're going to get this little thing in the mail that has a little check. Would you like to click here and say your home is vacant and pay $10,000 penalty per year? They go, screw it. I'm just going to say it's occupied and let's see what happens. I don't know, man. This is crazy. I don't know a better way to fix it, but I just don't think that this is the way. So Olivia Chow, what they want, okay, is for it to go up to 3%. It's not going to move the needle at all. For all you that think that 3% tax is going to afford these affordable housing initiatives, listen, the 2,100 that actually reported an empty property tax, guys, this is nothing. It's not going to touch a thing. Chow is also promising to build 25,000 homes in city-owned land in the next 8 years. These homes would be developed as a city as well, with a minimum of 7,500 affordable units, 2,500 units geared to rent income. And of course, I'm not really surprised about that. This follows the NDP actual mandate and how they want to run things. So if we are going to take a look at Toronto and their building, let's take a look at that, because we got to understand where she's coming from. So in Toronto, how many properties are built? Actually, downtown Toronto, it looks like 8,000 units were built last year. This is 2022. 8,000 units were built in Toronto. And if we look around, there's 2,000 in Toronto North, 2,000 in Toronto West. It looks like here in Richmond Hill, there was 5,000. So if she's saying, I don't know what the total is up here, I would have to kind of add it up, but let's call it like 20,000 homes. It's a little bit impossible, I think, but it's really good to have very lofty goals. I think overall, I think it's very good to have lofty goals, but to see 25,000 homes within 8 years, that is basically what? 2.5 years of constant building based on the charts of the starts that we have now. Already, please note that Toronto has the most cranes on the planet right now. We're 250 cranes in Toronto. In North America, we're the second largest place, I think, is San Diego with 50 cranes, I think it was, and we have 250. So we would have to be ramping up building a lot more, and we would need years of solely dedicated to building just in Toronto. So I know that the first thing that's going to come back, they're going to say, David, that's impossible, right? Because not everybody can agree. Not everybody can agree on what we should do. But you guys also have to remember what the new laws changed. Let's scooch to the end. Strong mayor powers. The powers allow the mayor to overrule a council decision based on provincial priorities, such as housing or housing infrastructure, as well as present a budget and hire certain staff. Okay, but the main thing, they have the power to overrule council's decision. So that is strong mayoral powers. This, you guys, can move the needle when they have these strong powers that Doug Ford, who runs Ontario, has just started. So this is very likely going to continue down this path that she's setting forward. So you have to ask yourself at the beginning, she wants to spend a lot of money on this Scarborough RT, but she's going to get it by knocking down all of those lanes. Problem. She's going to raise the rates on empty homes. That's going to affect a lot of realtors and how they are going to be investing, and whether it's even a local person that is investing those empty ones. These $25,000 homes, 25,000 homes that are going to be built for low income. The odds of them being able to build that in the next 8 years, math just doesn't line up on that. Ontario Place, this is important, I guess, for people to know. It is a gigantic park that is in Toronto. If you move over to it, it's a giant empty area, to be honest. It's a big, huge island that has a marina on it. It has Budweiser stage. It's a lot of land that they didn't know what to do. They've been talking about this forever. It's basically empty and been going back and forth whether they should fill it with towers. And the recent leader has said that they want to put a giant spa on that. So what are they going to do about that? Well, Olivia just does not like that. She doesn't want the spa to be put there and wants a large public park. Okay, so all we hear is a lot of money. So they want to increase municipal land tax on homes over 3 million. So obviously, if they have to increase the taxes on homes over 3 million, that's going to squash home prices down because the taxes will be higher on that. Remember, for every action, there is going to be an equal reaction. So if they're going to increase taxes on homes over 3 million, that means homes under 3 million are going to be going up and homes over 3 million are going to be coming down. Also, she wants to have a modest increase in property taxes on everybody else. Now, she will not give a number on it, on what it will be. Of course, there's been a lot of people speculating on that. We've heard numbers of 25%, 30% increases to taxes. But in all honesty, even if she doesn't hit that and she hits 20% increase, that's really, really, really going to affect realtors. It's investors. Residential investors are the number one people it's going to smack. But this is going to hurt companies. It's going to hurt individual people who own their homes. It's going to hurt investors. Remember, they got to take more money. So as they soak more money out of one section of the economy to put it somewhere else, there's going to be reactions. So this is a massive change. So I know that a lot of the news is coming out saying, oh, first Chinese mayor in Canada on a major city. And I don't really judge people by their skin color. I want to judge them based on the quality of their character. And I think everybody should. I don't think it's an accomplishment that you were born, with whatever skin color. What I want to do is, like, if you're a great person, a great leader, I think that's what we should all aspire to be. But this is not a political channel. I keep saying that because we get a lot of texts and messages and DMs and all this stuff about it. But regardless of that, we have to understand where the market is going so that we can be ahead of it. Remember that Wayne Gretzky, our famous hockey player, always said, you don't skate to the puck, you got to skate to where the puck will be. You need to know what is coming, because what happens if that Scarborough area is going to be built, those extra lanes for the bike lanes? That means properties there will go up. What means if there's more traffic down near Cherry Beach when they knock down the Gardner? That means property prices will go down. What happens when taxes go up above 3 million? Home prices will come down. What happens is everybody runs down to the properties that are 2.5 to 3 million instead of doing the 4 or 5 million. That means those property prices will go up. What happens when taxes are increased on all the other properties? That means people, the landlords, will have to charge more in rent. Please understand that these monumental seismic changes will all have knockdown effects. And so we have to pay attention to what those are, right? So let's continue with what she wants. So roads, they want to improve cycling infrastructure. So she wants to put bike lanes all over Toronto. If we do that, it's kind of a mixed bag. How does that on certain roads that do have bikes? It really depends. I've seen it go both ways. So sometimes the area is very bike friendly and it will have a bump up, but in those areas, you usually lose another lane of driving capability and you lose parking. So then there's a plus to the community and there's a drawdown. So it's kind of like one of those things that it depends who you are. So if you believe there's more cars in your area, then more people will be pissed off. If you believe that there's more bikes in your area than cars, which I don't believe that's the case, then you're making one group happy. We don't have extra land. We got to take away from something. Remember, there are no solutions. There is only trade-offs. And so I think that these powers, these new strong mayoral powers, which they can overrule council decisions, this is going to have some big impact. We have seen for a long, long time, a very long time, that things can never get done when a mayor comes into power. all the time, all over the world, right? Because there's a lot of council meetings and whatever and deals that happen. But now that the province of Ontario has given these strong mayoral powers where they can overrule, they can kind of push through their agenda regardless of what it is. Now, mayors are going to come and go all the time. So when she lays out this plan, this is one of the first times I'm going to be seeing if these strong mayoral powers will actually have a big impact on Toronto. I think this time it will. I think a lot of these things are going to be coming into place. And so it's really important for us to do our homework, understand who Olivia Chow is, where she came from, what her core beliefs are in the NDP powers, and where the changes are. So it's going to have big, big effects moving forward. So we have to pay attention to this. So when you're going to see this stuff, these things I'm mentioning, when you see certain areas that could grow and get more valuable and other areas that are losing value, you kind of want to get rid of the ones that are losing value and buy into the ones that are going up in value. Catch my drift? Anyway, guys, I hope that this gives you a lot of information on how to invest in the future. Thank you very much for coming to our channel. If you want to go onto our sister channel at Ruff Team Realty, we talk global things that are happening to Canada, but this channel is specifically for Toronto real estate. So you guys, please consider subscribing if I gave you any value. Like this video and notify me, send me DMs, let me know what you're thinking about, leave a comment on it. It really, really helps out the channel. It would mean a lot. Thank you very much.